Mr. President, I rise today to offer a tribute to a friend, a leader, and one of a kind, Rich Heffron. My colleagues in the Delaware congressional delegation, Senator Carper and Congresswoman Blunt Rochester, join me in congratulating Rich Heffron on his long record of service to Delaware. Rich will soon be retiring as the president of the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce. And I wanted to take the time today to honor his many contributions, not just to Delaware's business community, but to our legal, educational, and governmental communities, to all of Delaware. Rich moved from Philadelphia to Wilmington back in 1971, attending Delaware Law School and serving as an intern for then Senator Joe Biden. Rich later functioned as finance director for Joe Biden's 1978 senatorial campaign. Rich's career took off in 1985 when he started as a special assistant and top aide to then Wilmington Mayor Dan Frawley. Mayor Frawley wisely recognized Rich's business acumen and promoted him to director of the Department of Real Estate and Housing in 1987. There, Rich helped establish the Wilmington Housing Partnership and became one of Mayor Frawley's most trusted advisors, a key part of his kitchen cabinet. Rich later departed Wilmington city government in 1992 to embark on his journey with the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, where he would serve for more than a quarter century. Mayor Frawley was sad to lose Rich, but recognized his great value to our entire state through the chamber. Quote, "If I were the president of the state chamber, I would want to be able to communicate across political lines, across community and business lines," then Mayor Frawley said. Quote, "Rich has demonstrated that reach that goes beyond the partisan," close quote. At the state chamber, Rich managed the government affairs department and was the organization's chief advocate for federal, state, and local issues, and it was in this role that I first met him. Under Rich's great and lasting leadership, the state chamber has been a strong organization, representing the business community on a very wide range of issues. He expanded the chamber's advocacy role across the state and recently helped guide the modernization of the Coastal Zone Act and advocated for the creation of the Delaware Prosperity Partnership to help Delaware's economic development for the future. His insight was, and still is, frequently sought after in many policy areas, including government fiscal and tax policy, healthcare issues, land use management, and workers' compensation. Rich's depth of knowledge has been a resource for everyone who has spoken with him. His weekly emails, webcasts, television, and radio appearances are insightful, informative, and engaging. In short, he has long had his finger on the pulse of Delaware. Throughout his tenure at the Chamber, Rich has served on many boards and commissions, and I'll mention just a few. The Governor's Workers' Compensation Advisory Commission, the Workers' Compensation Healthcare Advisory Panel, the Delaware Healthcare Commission. Rich also made educating the next generation of Delawareans of all backgrounds a priority as an adjunct faculty member teaching business and political science at Delaware Technical and Community College and at Wilmington University. Rich's opinions, his style, and his voice have been sought out for nearly 30 years by business leaders, elected officials, and Delawareans alike up and down our state. And all those who got to know Rich Heffron got to know him as a friend. Our Governor, John Carney, had this to say about Rich just the other day, quote, "Rich exemplifies the Delaware way. He has great relationships with legislators and elected officials on both sides of the aisle. He takes a long-term approach to issues rather than an ideological or short-term approach because he realizes we're here to work together and get something done that will benefit our state. We all owe Rich an incredible debt of gratitude for what he's done for the Delaware State Chamber of Commerce, for what he's done to support job creation for Delawareans, and for what he's done to improve our great state of Delaware," close quote. Former Delaware State Representative Bobby Byrd, a longtime friend and former co-worker of Rich's, also spoke of his long career of service to our community. Bobby Byrd said, quote, "Not only has Rich been a lifelong Democratic Party activist, he's also been a very competent advocate for Delaware's business community. He is truly an example of the Delaware way," close quote. Though Rich is now retiring, His voice and his counsel will never be far away. And in retirement, his Temple Owls sports teams will be just a bit closer. I personally wanted to say to Rich my great thanks for the many ways in which you've encouraged and advised and supported me in the 8 years I worked in the private sector in manufacturing, in the 10 years I served in county government, and now in my 7 years here in the Senate. Many in this body find it hard to understand when Senator Carper and I talk about this Delaware way where we all work together and find ways to solve problems. But the idea that a Democratic Party activist is the long-serving and well-regarded head of our state Chamber of Commerce is just one small example of that Delaware way. And Rich, no one has been a better, more trusted source of advice to business leaders, community leaders, political leaders alike than you. It's appropriate that this is the eve of Delaware Day, when almost 230 years to the day, tomorrow, the brave Delaware delegates, risking their lives and everything they had, met at the Golden Fleece Tavern in Dover, Delaware, and unanimously voted to make Delaware the first state to ratify our Constitution. And tonight, we will celebrate again our annual Taste of Delaware event in honor of Delaware Day. And tonight, Rich, we will toast you at our 7th annual Taste of Delaware event, an event that wouldn't be possible without you and the State Chamber's unyielding support. The Taste of Delaware event is a great example of what it means to bring people together from across our state, from our 3 counties, from north and south, and to travel over here to Washington and share with all of our colleagues here in the Senate some of what makes Delaware special. Rich, you and your team have created a wonderful Washington tradition, attracting literally thousands of guests and dozens of Delaware's culinary staples to celebrate the first state here in the nation's capital. And Rich, I hope that you yourself have been the best example I could provide to my colleagues of what it is that makes Delaware so special. You will be missed, Rich, in your role at the State Chamber, and I wish for you and Colleen and your family all the best in your well-deserved years of retirement. Thank you. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor and suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.